Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Schizophrenia. I guess that's what you can call a trading range, but when you're getting wide range bars and other wide range bars in the opposite direction, and it looks like there's going to be a wide range bar and the other, it's very early, of course. Um, but yesterday's pre-market review was timely. That in explaining wide range bars and being power bars and how they can be the weakest link in what's going on in the moment, because at times they can be retraced, and we see that happen in the cues yesterday. And while there's some bars over there to the left of the wide range bar, and that certainly did attribute to yesterday's up day, meaning so let me back up. When we look at a wide range bar like this, right, it directs us, or a bias, that it's going to follow through to the downside because it's a big red bar. It doesn't mean it's going to follow through immediately. And so we have a rule about if the close is staying in the lower 50% and ideally in the lower third, which begins to build a base. And if it begins to reverse itself, there's nothing much to stop it from going up. And that's what began to develop yesterday. Over here, was the gap down. So that creates a void. And then it held up there. This is an hourly chart, so it held up there for a while, and then it started moving up. So these bars and patterns create beliefs and biases. And so when we look at a distribution pattern like this, and especially when it has a big red bar, it creates beliefs, which in turn creates trades. And so more trades expecting down prices. And when it doesn't follow through, well, on a short-term basis, shorts cover positions and longs see patterns, or they're not long yet. They see patterns suggesting, hey, this is going to go up, and intraday traders take advantage of that. And it can feed on itself. And as that enters into, a void, things can really move quite a bit. Now, of course, does it change the trend? And in this case, it did not, because it's still in a trading range, but it's got these, let's call them violent bars, up and down, or down and up. So yesterday, it closed strong, which would suggest, hey, if this thing can hold on to that gain in the face of this resistance there, this crazy market just might make new all-time highs. And then, of course, you start the next day, and here this morning, it's going back down again. And you can see my cursor, it's almost to the low of yesterday's bar. So I haven't looked at yet what's moving here. But one of the things we looked at yesterday in the green room, I pointed out, was, hey, the Magnificent Seven are back. And whether you looked at them or not, Apple had that monster day. There was some news. But if you looked at the equally weighted, it's like, we're back to that weak breath situation again. And it wasn't such an impressive day. It was inside the range. And yet everything still held this major support level. We'll see what happens. The S&P is equally weighted. In addition, they held the 50 in this major support. Now they're down here. Looks like they're going to open below there. But spiders, right, had a more of an impressive day, but wasn't able to close well, not even, looks like I'm eyeballing it, but maybe marginally above the 20 MA, but just even with it. So we still got this trading range, possibly head and shoulders type of top. It's moving down here. It's down near yesterday's low. You can see on the hourly chart, you can see the support there. So we would expect, well, let's see where it is here. Where is this on the 15-minute chart? Geez. Oh, wow. It's all the way down there. Look at the 15-minute chart, which is the middle one on the bottom. It's down into that congestion. You can see the cursor there. So most times with this kind of a move, and this is a momentum move, creating a void up above, You got voids and voids after voids. But it's going to gap down. And so I would suspect this is going to, I can't move that line down here, and then buyers will show up again, and we'll see if they can retrace back up into the void that's being created here pre-market, or on a day chart, this pre-market data not being there, it's going to gap down. Of course, that's going to create bearish expectations, because after a bullish day, expectations become, hey, this thing could gap up tomorrow. It's in a trading range. It's not like it's in an uptrend and pulling back to major support like this, which would have a decent probability of gapping up. So if it gapped up, it probably would have gotten sold into, and then we'd see what would happen after the next, 15, 20, 30 minutes or so. Now it's gapping down here. So if it doesn't bounce in a significant way, I think we should see the 50 MA get tested today in this area of major support. So that would lead us to SPX. Down here, yesterday's low. SPX doesn't update pre-market, but down here. And as this goes down, the good thing about SPX is it really gets things moving away from current data. So common sense. And again, you'll have to look at these at the open, because they do change. I think they're stabilized. I adjusted them once already, but is the S&P going to get down here to this next major support, slice through that 50 and come down here? I don't think so. I don't think so. That's all a credit spread is. I don't think so. Not today. So there's a reasonable amount of premium there to do a credit spread. Is it going to get back up to the top of the wide range bar? I don't think so. So, its prices are here near the low. If you want to consider an iron condor, I think I always say this to Dan when he asks me about different setups. I'm like, well, it's reasonable. What more can you want? Is it reasonable? And is that it's not going to get there. And the good thing is, you think it's going to get there today, right? 0 DTE. So I think not. What else happened yesterday? Pretty much, well, to different degrees, right? The Dow participated not as much. It's the weaker, right? This stayed in the lower half. Prices are staying below both moving averages. They moved down through the pivots. Next step should be down here to this major support. And we could look at the diamonds, see where they're at. They don't update as much, but sometimes we get, here we go. It is. Okay. So it's coming down to that pivot over here, right? Look to the left. Right? And you got a pivot. You got this congestion there. That should be a pretty strong level of price support. Another thing you could look at you could look at SPX, you could look at the Qs, look at the open interest at the strikes and see what is expiring today that has the largest open interest, right? That'll tend to provide an area of support as well, or the calls being resistance. I have to look at TBT because I don't know why these yields aren't updating. I'm going to have to contact eSignal. I don't know if anyone else's is. It looks like yields are down, gapping down here a bit. You can see as they're pushing up, bonds, which are obviously moving. You can see they're just having a technical bounce here. So yields are coming down a little bit. Bond prices down, yields up, some support, these overlapping opens and closes. So a little bit of a reprieve there. But the dollar, we can see the euro here, that's making a nosedive. So the dollar's going up. So you got kind of a balancing act, so to speak. But I didn't check the news this morning, but I suspect something's going on. If these currencies are falling like this and the dollar's going up, which could potentially, I don't know, could relate. And I'll look to see if, just curious if this is updating the 13-week I don't know if this is updating, but it's something to take a look at to see if this 13-week yield is moving up, because that would have implications that not only is the Fed not going to cut interest rates in June, is there some kind of a bias going on that they might actually have to raise it a quarter point with this inflation stuff going on? That would probably scare the bejesus out of, those that have been so committed. But I don't know. It's too early to tell. Only the day-to-day data coming out changes things, and again, kind of the schizophrenia that's been going on. All right, gold moving on up. Right? Strong as hell. Is there a belief in inflation? Yeah, but there's probably a stronger belief that the maniac behind the controls is out of control and spending too much money, and negative implications for this country. But anyway, new all-time highs. It's going to go higher. And let's see here. Got those dots. Of course, the dollar has to be moving up. Gasoline, going up. Right? Look at this consolidation. Look at the dot there. That's all I got to see. But it's gapping up. At least it's gapping up into resistance here. It should stall. Inflation. This is settling a little bit. Ag's going up. Look, it is what it is. Something's going to have to happen. We don't want to. I don't know personally. I don't want to hear that. 3% is okay. No, it's not okay. All right. IWM had a nice move yesterday, but just an inside bar, as it is an unfilled gap here. It's moving down. There's major support. Probably eventually breaks. Probably goes down. We'll see where to. It's just consolidating, and the lower 25% or so of the wide range bar. These are the futures, but they're showing a little relative strength here. So we'll see how that plays out. Bitcoin. I mean, the way it's down a little bit, but not a big deal. Not a big deal here, which was to suggest maybe by next week. I mean, if this continues to hold here, we'd have a red bar ignored, and if we get another bottoming tail bar, something that suggests it's going to go up. But right now it's just sideways, so nothing to do. Do we already looked at crude? Yeah, that's going to go up. We were joking about the golden cross here, the 50 moving above the 200. No one likes to point it out when it comes to crude oil. Anyway, subjective. Semiconductors, they were a heads up yesterday. Things looking early on, they were showing relative strength, and now they're gapping down. So more craziness. But anyway, we'll see how the Magnificent Seven holds up today. Apple had like an amazing reversal day. So it was news on that, but that was teetering on going over the cliff there, and it had a monster reversal day, which certainly puts a kink in a bias of Apple going lower versus maybe going sideways here for a while. So that's good. I mean, Microsoft not held up. It was lagging, and then it was like, okay, Apple's going up. Somebody buy Microsoft, and so that's still in a trading range. And even Tesla, that was down at the time. Right, this was a red bar, looking like it was going to head lower. So some short covering, I guess, came into that, or buying, but that's just still in a trading range, and that's gapping down here today. This looks like a kind of a head and shoulders topping pattern, but going sideways. We'll see if it breaks yesterday's low. And so a lot of moving parts, a lot of jiggling around up and down, and we'll see how today settles out for the end of the week, and that'll be it. I'll drop a link in there. I'm doing a presentation at 4 o'clock today. So on the close, if you don't have any plans, it's about an hour, a little bit less. So spend a little time with me. All yours, Dan.
So I'm assuming the seminar you're doing, they have a policy of save the best for last.
No, they continue throughout the weekend, man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, you should have just taken my compliment anyway. Why not?
Well, in a situation like that, I don't know that they save the best for last. Anyway, they're marketing stuff, so they
And
put the best, salesman, I suppose, first. The guy that tells the truth. Eh.
all right, let's see what we got. So Spider, I came back from lunch and was just flabbergasted of what brought this up. I couldn't, nobody could tell me if there's any news, even the media afterwards couldn't point to anything. But, number one, who cares? I'm just always wanting to know if there's a theme that we could make more money on with that theme. And, it's a combination of, Void, combination of Apple, some news. The news I read was they're revamping their PCs to include AI chips. Whoever came out with that marketing slogan or whatever you want to call it, it needs a bonus because look at how much market cap was created. What's $5 on this company? Wow, wowzer. So that got the fangs in a frenzy. There was some talk about the bond auction, setting off some stuff, and then finally, gamma hedging that I talked about, which just means they buy as it's go, they chase. You either got positive or negative gamma. When it's positive, they're chasing. When it's negative, they're defending. And I think today they're defending. So that kind of supports, range bound here again today, which is what I want for the bearish bias for next week. I typed that in the green room a little bit ago. Inside day, under the week's low, we'll have a shorting party next week. So that is my clear bias. Earnings, not many of them, but earnings seasons kicks off today. JP Morgan, etc. So this little $3 stock is a short-term climo if you're so inclined. Just bouncing the downtrend. JP Morgan getting whacked, but it's gapping, a little bit above 50 MA. So I'll be looking at that for a 0 DTE put spread over, just my vanilla initial view, 30-minute high. I'll tell you more in 29 minutes or 15 minutes, if with my bias changes. WFC down a little bit, but nothing. BGR. I was hoping this was going to open flattish. And then I said definite short to the 50, but gap's messing it up. Here, let me see. IG always has good ideas for us. Yeah, I mentioned coin yesterday. Holding very well. Good. Coin A/B test. Coin is a better pattern. Well, Roberto, we actually did something better than that. We actually brought the Gamma boys on about, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago to that we turned the mic over to them and we let them be the primary speakers. And then we kind of just moderated with them, asking questions, etc. Citigroup up, down to flat, Here, let me get Raul real quick on YouTube. Babar. It's Raul number one. It's not a quality buy setup. Number two, it's extended all time frames. Number three, it's nowhere near, no offense, it's nowhere near quality enough to even interest me with the broader market cap down. I'll show you some other bullish ones on my list from yesterday, though, in a moment. So sit tight. STT, I sold, what script did I do? I sold puts on this yesterday, thinking it was 1 DTE, and it was 8, but 67 and a half. So I sold them way the heck down here. So I'm just bidding a nickel to get out, see what it looks like. But opening flat, there's a 100% chance I got to open profit, but for the stupid spreads. All right, that's it on earnings. So, Raul, I'll find you some better ones. This Golf Lima got shellacked yesterday. Hey, Don, remember? We nailed the turn. I talked about my selling put chapter of mastering advanced credit spreads. And I said, I would be selling puts now if there were out of the money strikes. We looked in the 60s, they didn't have them open yet, but I looked today and the dude got off his butt. And yeah, they go all the way down to 20 now. But that is a perfect example of selling puts into extreme fear. So this one, somebody said, just kind of went down in sympathy. I really want it to come down to the 200, and then we're going to do the identical thing. So Raul, postage is a superior setup for a new long. SFM is another one. If it doesn't gap down, I see one print down here at 61.50, which would totally destroy the pattern. If it opens flat, this is superior. Long trade. Morgan Stanley got shellacked. The Treasury. I saw a snippet in the journal today. The Treasury is investigating them for not monitoring their wealth clients, bad action, whatever behavior. So I'm actually watching this as a put spread with all this major support down here. I mentioned Goldman as a condor setup, major resistance, major support right in the middle. Perfect condor setup. I'm not sure when it is earnings. I didn't check. CDLX, superior long setup. But I want to enter a half lot as a core. Look at the monthly. So I'm not going to nickel and dime the entry. So I made it hard to trigger. So let's let it get over the week's high. GPS, it's a buy setup with a very deep retracement. That's the watch. AAL, the bear 1, 2, 3. All right, thanks. So then that's off the list. Intel and AMD are weak because China is not allowing their chips in their phones. But look at this. This is where Biden threw another $6 billion at him. Don't get me started. Just throwing money in a junk company. Really? Look at that. Now it's down. Now gapping under the week's low. This your garbage company. I mean, you were the leader in the 90s, but you gave up your mojo. AMD under the week's low looks lower. So, but it's on support here, so not a good entry. Neo, we're fighting with China all the time, and some congressman came in and is proposing a bill to ban Chinese EV stocks in the US. But this is on a death trend anyway. Neo looks horrible. Now, the gap's kind of messing us up, but this was a potential bottoming pattern if it could get above the week's high. XPEV, same bearish gap, downtrend. NCLH, another bear 123 on Sam's list. I just don't know how low it's going to go. This is a power bar at the 200. So probably more of a day trade. Oh, the reason I'm looking at this is they said they're canceling 25 cruises over in Europe this summer for some reason. I forget what happened on this news here, but man, Alex, why were we not watching this more? That gave an entry right there over that inside bar. Shame on all of us for not watching that. Because I love watching things killed, like this Gulf Lima and the other one. I know, that's why that's on my list right here. FT. I just read that in the paper today. They're going to throw $6 billion at this Taiwan company. They said for building a plant in the U.S. somewhere. Man, this administration just will not stop effing spending money. And then in the journal today, he finalized plans to give away more student loan debt forgiveness. So now it's up to 153 billion. This dude has forgiven. Just makes my blood boil. Nothing I can do about it. All right, UNH, these things got clobbered on this news. Closing breakdown. It's not a good swing, but definitely that could have been a beautiful scalp into the close had you been watching it, but it still looks lower to me. That could be a day trade watch. Cat's a buy setup and an amazingly strong railroad track. Wow, how often do we see railroad track 20, 50, and 200? Because the 200 is so much lagging. Amazing strength on the little kitty cat. Minder, I just saw this on the ticker and pulled it up. New IPO. Yeah, you know what, David? I feel like I'm a visionary often because you all know in the green room, I'm like bitching about things 6 to 18 months before the media starts yakking about it. Man, I've been complaining about this inflation for a year. And now it's all over the news that how people are so pissed off. And I'm like, hello, McFly. It's taken you a year to wake up to this shit. All right. Kaping, I just saw on the ticker. Let's watch this on a pullback. Look at the monthly on Kaping. Somebody told me it's the South Korean Amazon. This is a bottoming pattern. Looks great. So, there's no entry now though. I need a pullback. And then gold, when Greg said it's moving on up, it reminded me of that Jefferson show. Y'all remember? Remember Mr. Jefferson? He's moving on up. It was in there that song, song to start the show. It was funny. I love that show. No, Don, I don't like the big contract. The big contract scares me. That's why I let you and Greg do it. I do the little contract, and I did look, and there was only 8 cents. Wheezy, wheezy.
Yeah.
Eh,
Let
what?
me use your own words about these credit spreads and some of these crazy things you do with these earnings plays, which you have an amazing batting average for. But you always say that it's about probabilities. Now, God forbid one of those probabilities, like any credit spread, bites your ass. SPX is the same thing. But, these numbers that they provide, because of like right now, when things start to move fast, you can get so far away that the probability of being hit is minuscule. And that's always what we're looking for with a credit spread. And, as things get a little more wild, like, the last couple of days, look how far away these strikes are.
Right, I agree with that. So the only exception is it's not a gap risk unless, of course, you're holding overnight. All right, our cyber low alarm looks great. It's more of, I agree with your statement. I'm not disagreeing. You can get so far away. The part I don't like is ugly retracement. Man, you're at 3, 4, 5, 6x loss at a blink of an eye. That is unpleasant. That's what I don't like.
No denying that statement.
All right, so right, it's a levered instrument. So you take the good with the bad. Exactly. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
All right,
All right.
YMM
Yeah.
stopped out. Nice swing trade, but I want to watch that on a pullback because of the monthly.
I think
Look,
Dan did talk about GL, but if you have a specific question on that, you said, did we see GL? Dan already pointed out yesterday.
oh yeah, we were talking about it for a long time. Yeah, Don and I started doing that. Even if we don't plan on trading it for whatever reason, like there were no out of the money puts, it's a fantastic exercise, Don, right? Fantastic exercise to pick a bottom in real time and kind of like a video game and see if we're right, you know? So I think it's a fantastic exercise. All right, out of this at 790. DNN alarm, up alarm, so that's a good thing.
SYK
Nice.
gap down.
Nice buy setup. I forget which one of you gave that. I think it was Aichi, and I said, absolutely. We bought that yesterday as a buy setup. Hey, Aichi, take it anyway, man. You know, when you trade little stocks, look, we're up 5%. Um, stuff right here, 214. Yeah, NXC. Yep, Alex gave us that as a cousin looking one. And I loved it also, but was waiting for the close and it ripped without us. That Kaping is holding, no pullback. I'm not chasing. I had a Disney low alarm go off. This looks like a short 30-minute low. Disney, target 50 MA. All right, our cyber, let's check our call spread. It's spready, but midpoint is 25. So let's look to get out of that now, the call spread. We're still short the stock. Yeah, LMT was on my list. It got a contract, and I had ran saber rattling. It's all over the news saying they expect an attack on Israel within 2 days.